You guys, it's happening just out of the blue. Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Now, first off, before I get into anything, I know this is super exciting, but we have to go back to the beginning and look at Friday the 13th, because if it wasn't for the success of Friday the 13th, business-wise and financially, we would not be even seeing the likes of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Killer Klowns today. Because the reason why producers are saying yes, so passionate developers are able to dig down and make these things, are because Friday the 13th was financially successful. As much as we criticize Friday the 13th, and there are things gameplay-wise that are wonky about the game, but if you look at the game from a business standpoint, it was very successful. It made money. Producers like money. License holders like money. And so then when developers pitch to the producers or license holders about making things like Killer Klowns from Outer Space and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, instead of a no, we get a yes, and developers can then dig in and create these things that we would have never seen if it wasn't for the likes of Gun Media doing what they did and the team doing what they did back then. So here we go, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Not only coming as a video game, but this October, if you're going to Halloween Horror Nights, you're going to see clowns all over the place. So it's a big October this year for the game and the theme parks. All of this partnership and all of these events happening is just going to juice up the whole horror community in general. This is fantastic. Between Clowns coming out next year, maybe getting a beta around October this year, I'm guessing they're going to be doing that around Halloween Horror Nights releasing. Those of you going to Halloween Horror Nights in California or Orlando are going to be just in for a treat, because then you'll be able to come home after that and probably play the beta. We'll see what happens with all that. Very exciting. Here we have the video reveal for Killer Klowns from Outer Space. As you can see, it's taking place in the 80s. It's 1988. I was 6 years old in real life at the time. And the movie released back in May 27th, 1988. The game on the camera right here says April 1st. It was created originally by the Kyoto brothers. KillerClownsTheGame.com. There is going to be a beta soon. They have not said when. I imagine it might be around October-ish. Would make a lot of sense. We have Ghostbusters, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Killer Klowns all coming out very close to each other in terms of release. This is a big deal for the horror community as a whole, not just for asymmetrical video games, you guys. This is a big deal for the horror community in general. You're going to have a lot of new people coming in to play video games that probably don't even play video games normally. They're just coming in because, hey, Killer Klowns, I fucking grew up with that shit. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Ghostbusters. This is beautiful. It's starting a whole new community, getting more and more people involved in the asymmetrical genre, which is still very new, but I feel like that these three games are going to give it a major push in the right direction, especially in terms of showing what video games under a licensed name can do. So many people say, I just want original games with original characters. Well, you know what? A lot of us grew up with all this. It's nostalgia, yes, but I feel like even with the nostalgia, this stuff can be put out passionately, done right, with a good meta, good graphics, good gameplay, and an exciting experience for a lot of people to come into. It's a new genre. Developers are still learning. And if you've noticed, they're going 3v7. So Texas Chainsaw is going 3v4. Killer Klowns is going 3v7. As most asymmetrical developers have found out, the 1v number, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it just doesn't work out so great. The killer has too much pressure in all these games. It's a lot of it. There's a case of, and I'm sure a lot of you out there that have played asymmetricals, whether you're a producer, developer, you've gone out there and played a lot of these games. And what is the constant problem every single time? the frustration of a killer having too much pressure, and then the survivors being overpowered, and then the developer has to go in and try to rebalance everything, but then there's still too much pressure on one side, and then the survivors, you got to keep them happy because they're the majority number making up a lobby. If you make the killer happy, well, they're only one person, it doesn't matter, but then you end up with the whole thing is nobody's playing killers. So imagine it being like a theme park where you have your killers in the theme park. Think of Halloween Horror Nights, right? You have all these performers, the killers, inside of the theme park, and then your survivors are the guests. Well, if the killers get frustrated, you don't have any performers in the park. Here are all your guests standing outside waiting to get in to have an experience, and they're sitting in a lobby waiting 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes for a match to start because the killers are so frustrated they give up. So now you have to get incentives like licenses, DBD, for people to play the killer, so then you can get in there and have time to fix your game around before people decide to quit playing it. So this is the recyclage of what keeps happening game after game after game, and people are just kind of sick of going through the motions, right? So now we here have Ghostbusters. They're trying the 1v4 thing again, but it might work considering the ghosts and how they're going to operate in the map. We'll see. And then, with Killer Klowns doing the 3v7, with the multiple killers, this is less pressure about covering an entire map, right? Because now you have 3 different people that are going around a whole map. There's more coverage there, so you don't have to worry about trying to find everybody in a whole map by yourself as one killer. The second positive about this is now you have less pressure as a killer in terms of fighting, right? So one clown can try to go after one person or 2 people or 3 people, and you can have another clown coming from another direction. You have strategy and more tactics now with more killers on the map, and the game can be balanced accordingly. And then the thing that I think is most important, especially when it comes to other players playing these games together, is now the killer doesn't have to be by themselves, which is more entertaining because now you can get on the mic with a friend who's also playing a killer, and you can work together, and the survivors are working together, and now everybody's having fun because there's talking going on, there's collaborating, there's teamwork on both sides, not just the killer side, but the survivor side. And if Killer Klowns and Texas Chainsaw Massacre can sort of keep the atmosphere and the experience genuine, for TCM, the survivors want to feel like they're in a horror movie, and the killers want to feel like that they are the killer in a horror movie. And then with Killer Klowns, it's going to have to feel like a comedy horror movie, but still retain the horror, but be fun enough to where it's like, okay, this feels like the Killer Klowns movie. It's comedy horror, but still remain entertaining. If it can do that while keeping a good atmosphere and a good experience for the survivors, I think we're going to have some winners on our hands. And if these games do well, it's just going to open the door for more stuff like Chucky, Gremlins. The hardest one I think would be to make is Nightmare on Elm Street. You just don't know, but it's an exciting time. I'm really happy to see what's going to happen with these games. You guys know me. Even if the game frustrates the hell out of me, I still support this genre. No matter the game, even DBD and VHS, the 2 games that frustrate me the most, I still stand by them and still support them. And I just want to see this genre go places without the constant recyclage of, this game is so frustrating, I don't want to play it anymore, because that happens a lot. So it should be constantly entertaining for both sides, but still have a challenge there so it can be competitive, but not frustrating enough to where you just want to drop the game, because I know a lot of people that have dropped DVD and VHS for certain reasons because of the frustration or the toxicity, and I think we've had enough of that. We want to move on from that and see this genre grow in a nice way. And I hope and wish for these 2 games, Killer Klowns, TCM, and as well as Ghostbusters, even though it is kind of doing the 1v4 thing again, to be successful and show that licensed, well-known characters from horror movies can have a place in video games and just do well, And that's pretty much all I got to say. You guys keep an eye on this. Go sign up for the beta. Again, killerclownsthegame.com. I will see you next time. This is very good news. Super excited. I hope everyone has a beautiful Halloween season. Bye-bye.